Judgment in the Balance, Judicial Crisis and Political Controversy in Malaysia by AZLAN ADNAN. A judiciary at the crossroads. Malaysia's legal system finds itself in a moment of rare and dangerous uncertainty as the country prepares for the simultaneous retirement of two of its most senior judicial figures. Chief Justice Tun Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat is due to retire on the 30th of June 2025, with Court of Appeal President Tan Sri Abang Iskandar scheduled to follow on the 2nd of July. Compounding the problem is the imminent retirement of the next most senior federal court judge, Nalini Pathmanathan, in August. This convergence of vacancies at the very top of the judiciary is without precedent and has left a troubling vacuum in leadership at a time when the nation's legal and political foundations are under increasing strain. Under ordinary circumstances, continuity would be ensured through 6-month judicial extensions, formally granted by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong upon the advice of the Prime Minister and the recommendation of the Judicial Appointments Commission, JAC. Yet, these extensions have not been confirmed or even publicly addressed. As of the final hours of June, the silence from Putrajaya has only amplified growing concerns over the independence and transparency of the judicial selection process. The rise of Ahmad Tariruddin. In the absence of clear succession plans, one name has suddenly dominated public discourse: Ahmad Tariruddin Mohd Salah. Formerly the Attorney General, Tariruddin was elevated to the federal court in November 2024 after serving barely over a year as the country's top legal officer. His rapid rise through the ranks has raised eyebrows across the legal and political establishment. While his career includes stints as a Sessions Court judge, state legal advisor, and Solicitor General, many legal observers note that he lacks the depth of judicial experience and corpus of written judgments typically expected of a candidate for Chief Justice or President of the Court of Appeal. More troubling, however, is his perceived proximity to Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, under whose administration he was appointed Attorney General. This has led to accusations, both subtle and overt, that political favoritism rather than judicial merit may be driving his ascension. Executive influence and a crisis of credibility. Legal commentators and former judges have warned that the independence of the judiciary is at stake. Several sources, including senior members of the bar, have reported that Tariruddin's appointment to the federal court bypassed the normal recommendation process involving the Chief Justice. That appointment was said to have been made directly on the advice of Prime Minister Anwar, an unusual move that has prompted suspicions of executive overreach. More recently, tensions within the Judicial Appointments Commission itself have begun to surface. Allegations emerged that Tariruddin, while still Attorney General, had improperly intervened in judicial nominations. A journalist investigating these claims now faces police action, raising red flags about media freedom and the government's commitment to transparency. These developments have cast a long shadow over the current government's reformist credentials. A cross-partisan alliance sounds the alarm. The situation escalated further on the 23rd of June 2025, when a group of senior statesmen and former national leaders launched the Secretariat to defend the judiciary. In a rare show of cross-partisan unity, the group includes former Prime Ministers Dr. Mahathir Mohamad and Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, along with former ministers and political veterans such as Zaid Ibrahim, Rais Yatim, Taqiyuddin Hassan, Dr. P. Ramasamy, and Waitham Morthy. The Secretariat issued 6 demands, central among them being a call for Prime Minister Anwar to recuse himself from participating in any judicial appointments for the duration of his ongoing sex abuse lawsuit. The group also urged him to take a temporary leave of absence to avoid any real or perceived conflict of interest. They warned that failure to do so would seriously compromise the integrity of the nation's legal institutions. The Prime Minister responds. Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has thus far denied any impropriety. In recent statements, he reaffirmed that the judicial appointment process remains within constitutional bounds, and that no one person, including himself, can unilaterally dictate judicial promotions. He also rejected calls for a leave of absence, asserting his right to perform his constitutional duties unless and until found guilty in a court of law. Yet critics remain unconvinced. They point to Terry Rudin's extraordinary elevation, which skipped over multiple more senior and experienced judges, as evidence of political interference. These concerns are amplified by the fact that Terry Rudin's name reportedly did not appear on the list of recommended candidates submitted to the Prime Minister by the Chief Justice, raising the specter of an executive override of due process. Echoes of the Lingam scandal. The current climate has invited comparisons with Malaysia's 2007 judicial crisis, famously catalyzed by the release of the Lingam video. That scandal, which exposed the manipulation of judicial appointments through political patronage, led to the establishment of a Royal Commission of Inquiry and a national reckoning with the fragility of judicial independence. For many Malaysians, the specter of a similar crisis looms large. While the mechanisms of appointment remain technically intact, the integrity and transparency of those mechanisms are being called into question in ways that echo that earlier scandal. Implications for governance and the rule of law. At stake in this escalating controversy is more than just a question of who will be Malaysia's next Chief Justice. The broader issue is whether the country's judiciary can continue to function as an impartial, independent check on executive power. If judicial promotions are seen to be politically motivated, public confidence in the courts will suffer irreparable damage. Moreover, the controversy threatens to tarnish Malaysia's international standing, particularly as the nation assumes greater leadership roles within ASEAN and the wider global south. This crisis also puts Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's own reformist image on the line. Once the face of Malaysia's democratic struggle and judicial independence movement, Anwar now finds himself accused of replicating the very abuses of power he once decried. His administration's handling of the current judicial transition will be a critical test of its credibility, both domestically and abroad. What happens next, with the retirements of Maimun and Iskandar now imminent? All eyes are on the Prime Minister and the palace to determine how the succession will unfold. Federal Court Judge Hasna Mohammed Hashim has received a short extension until November and may serve as a caretaker in the interim. Whether she or another more senior judge is chosen over Terry Rudin will send a strong signal about the government's commitment to judicial independence. If the Prime Minister chooses to respect the tradition of seniority and meritocracy in judicial appointments, he may yet salvage his reformist reputation. If not, the damage to Malaysia's democratic institutions may be lasting. Conclusion. Malaysia is facing a critical constitutional moment. The retirement of the judiciary's top leadership, coupled with the emergence of a politically controversial candidate, has set the stage for a showdown between the principles of judicial independence and the imperatives of executive control. As the country awaits a decision that could define its legal future, the stakes could not be higher. The manner in which this succession is handled will reverberate well beyond Putrajaya. It will echo through the halls of every courtroom in the nation. A heartfelt light. To every soul whose hand did give, you've helped me dream, helped me live. In darkest hours your light came through, with hearts so kind, so pure, so true. Your gifts, like stars in deepest night, have steered me gently toward the light. Each coin, each word, each silent prayer, a thread of hope so rich, so rare. My eyes once dimmed now seek the skies, and slowly clearer visions rise. Because of you, I dare to see the world again, its grace, its plea. Your compassion's flame will not just stay with me alone. It lights the way for others wandering through despair to feel the warmth of selfless care. You've shown what love in action means, in quiet ways through giving scenes. You've built a bridge from soul to soul and made the broken feel more whole. So let this thanks rise like a song, a melody both soft and strong. May your example gently call more hearts to rise to give. To fall into the joy of lifting pain, of planting hope where none remains. Your kindness walks beside me still, a light, a love, a living will.
forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support.